Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Geek Vibes interview. I'm your host, Michael, and today I'm joined by two legendary Doctor Who performers. You first saw them as the Rarth Warriors in the 60th anniversary special, and they've just returned as the Miss Belinda Chandrabots in the Robot Revolution. Please welcome Stephen Love and Robert Strange. How are you guys doing today?
No, very, very well, thanks. Great intro.
Before we kind of get into the Doctor Who of it all, can you guys tell us just a little bit about yourselves and your past and how you guys met?
Yeah, so we're both professional actors performers. I have come a lot from a puppetry background. I'm fairly new to creature performing. As you said, this was my second time on Doctor Who, and Doctor Who is actually where I met Rob. Rob, we were when we were the Roth Warriors. Rob was cast in the episode, and they needed another performer who was similar to Rob in terms of height and body size and that sort of stuff. So I was very fortunate to be given that opportunity. So we first teamed up on the Star Beast episode with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And then we have very fortunately been reunited for the Robot Revolution.
Yes, indeed. I suppose my background similar in a way. I mean, I studied science to start with, but I trained as an actor. I've been working for like 10, 12 years, and I've done all sorts, but I kind of have found this specialty, this niche, playing a lot of monsters and creatures, doing a lot in big suits and prosthetics and things. So I've been doing that for about 10, 12 years, really. I worked with Millennium FX, who make the suits for Doctor Who. They make all the creature suits on the most recent seasons. I've worked with them before on a few other projects, and so a few years ago now, they got in touch and said, "Hey, we've got this creature coming up in a big TV series. Do you want to come into the workshop and see?" And I walked in, and there was a big pair of stilts on the floor, which I'd never worn before, and they said, "Put them on, have a go." And then that turned out to be Doctor Who, obviously, and the Roth, and I was united with Stephen for the first time, and Team Strangelove was born, and then we filmed that whole project, and then we were reunited for the Robot Revolution, obviously.
And we are really we really are trying to we love that idea of Team Strangelove. We're very fortunate to have done two fantastic shoots together in the past, and really hopeful for more. And now that we have developed this wonderful knack of being able to walk perfectly in sync, side by side, and we just kind of now know what the other one's going to do instinctively. So hopefully that will lead to many more kind of partnerships in the future, which would be great.
And then Robert, you also were the bogeyman in Space Babies, right?
Sure was. Yeah, it's great fun actually when you put the three creatures side by side because just visually they couldn't really look more different in a way, and yet they all have this real kind of distinctive Doctor Who feel to them, which is quite fun. So quite proud of that little trio.
Space Babies was fantastic. Obviously, I wasn't part of the episode, but getting to see Rob's work in that was amazing, really brilliant. And Rob had filmed that in between the robots and the Raw. So when we linked back up for the robots, it was a really brilliant opportunity to just say to Rob how fantastic that work was, because it was an incredible creature, and it was amazing to see Rob bring that to life.
There's another good little overlap actually, and I don't want to jump ahead, but one of the other robots, which we'll come to, is a chap called Lucas, and they did a big Doctor Who show at the proms. There's a big show BBC at the proms where they play the music of Doctor Who, and I was out the country, so I couldn't play the bogeyman, but they got Lucas in to get in my bogeyman suit. So on in BBC at the proms playing the music of Doctor Who, that was one of the robots in the bogeyman suit as well. So it's all a little family. I think once they found performers who were the same, as Stephen said, exactly the same size and shape, they will remember that and bookmark us.
And also because the work it requires quite a lot from the performers. First of all, it takes a huge team effort. Obviously, as Rob mentioned, the team at Millennium, they're responsible for creating the suits, and not only do they create the suits, but they provide the most amazing on-set care for us as performers. Each kind of robot had their own little entourage of people looking after us, which really enabled us as performers just to focus on trying to give our best work on screen. And none of what we did would have been possible without the help and the support of the amazing Millennium crew. But I think what's also great for the Dot 2 team is once they found performers that go, okay, these chaps can do the creature stuff, and even though that comes with its own difficulties sometimes in terms of maybe like no vision, or particularly with the Roth, it was almost like full sensory deprivation because we were on stilts, but we couldn't see, we couldn't really hear. We had little microphones in, but I'll let Rob kind of explain a little bit more of that in a minute. But you're performing under conditions which can actually be quite a lot to be dealing with. So I think once they found people who can handle that and also love doing it, then they want to bring those people back in because it can be quite a surprise when you first, particularly for me for the Roth. The Roth were like Rob walked into the Millennium HQ, saw the stilts, was like, okay, never done this before, but let's give it a go. And then they put the headpiece on. It was like, right now I can't see or hear. Brilliant. Oh, now a full suit. And it was very much from my first credit. That was like, oh, what is happening? There's a lot going on. And I definitely relied on Rob's experience to help me through that, but also Mr. Paul Casey, who is a absolutely amazing, I mean, Doctor Who legend. I'm sure you know about some of the work that Paul's done. Um, Having him as a creature director to help us create the performance is amazing, and we've always got him in our ear. But I'll let Rob kind of explain that how that works.
Yeah, so usually if you're in a big suit, so like the like all three of these Doctor Who creatures I've done and Stephen, we have very little vision, as Stephen said. So we have earpieces that connect to Paul Casey, who has played many Doctor Who creatures over the
Hmm.
last few years, and he's now the resident creature movement director. So he's kind of in charge of training us up, of getting our movement prepared for whatever creatures we're playing, and then being the link between the director and the creatives on set and us in the suits. So he speaks into a microphone and we can hear him, which is invaluable because often you can't really hear everyone outside because of the suit or the robotics or whatever it happens to be. So he communicates literally things like, step a little step to your left or move forward or move faster, or he just kind of little sweet words of encouragement. If it's the end of a long night shoot, he'll be there saying, "You're doing a good job. Keep it going. One more take." Um, yeah, which so he kind of becomes your external eyes and ears in a way, which is amazing. And as Stephen said, it just adds to this sense of creature performing like all acting, but particularly with creatures, it's hyper collaborative because you're the final endpoint in bringing to life these suits that people have drawn and sculpted and made and painted and designed and brought to life and put on you, and then you're the endpoint where you have to bring it to life and make it look real in some way or another. So Paul is like an essential piece of that puzzle. It's a great experience.
On that note, how much freedom are you guys given when you're doing your performances? Are you involved at all in the design process? Do you get to make the same kinds of decisions that you say Shooty or Verita get to make?
So I think in terms of like the design, that's very much Millennium's realm.
Right.
However, what they are fantastic at is each, even though obviously we are physically very similar, we also do have our own um, traits as obviously individuals. So I may put the suit on and Rob may put the suit on, and we may notice slight different things which don't work for us as individuals, which aren't the same as the other person. So what Millennium are really great at is taking the time to say, right, pop the suit on. How does this feel? Can we do any edits? Do you need any more padding? Does this maybe need moving? So that's where we get lots of input because they want to make the suits as comfortable and longevity for us as performers as much as possible so that we don't suddenly end up, being broken or whatever. So in that sense, yeah, we have loads of input because if something's not working, they fix it immediately and it's really helpful. So I think by the end of the shoot, obviously as Rob said, we had me and Rob as robot 1 and 2. We
Mhm.
had Charles and Lucas as robot 3 and 4. I think by the end of the shoot, all four suits internally were quite different. They were, structurally similar, but
Mhm.
they all had tweaks which were done to help us as individual performers.
And then I think to answer the second part of your question, I think creatively, obviously there was a script and there was a vision, and that's all decided by the team. But Peter, the director, was very open to whatever we wanted to bring to it performance-wise as well. I mean, obviously our performances were somewhat restricted by the physicality of the suit and the movement we were able to do.
Right.
So often they would explain exactly what they had in mind, and then he'd come to us or via Paul and say, what's possible? Can they do that? What are they comfortable? What are they happy to do? And we could propose all sorts of different things. We had, again, all credit to Millennium. The way these suits were designed, we everything you see is there. There was nothing added in terms of the physical suit in VFX or anything. So we moved the arms. Our arms were in it. We could control the fingers. We could hold the gun. We could hold even. They even designed kind of magnets. So the shot where you see the robot holding the star certificate, that was real. They designed it so there was a special hand with magnets, and
Oh,
uh,
that's
so
cool.
we could say like actually we can point, we can do this with the gun, we can turn this way, we can do this much. So in terms of that kind of creative input, that was we were always approached to bring as much to it as we could.
And I think there's an amazing level of, as Robin mentioned, Peter was fantastic. The rest of the Doctor Who crew tend to have been there for a while on the show, and I think they give an awful lot of trust to the performers, particularly if they've done episodes before. Someone like Rob, someone like myself, they know we get it. We kind of know what they're after. So there are definitely moments where they go, it's a huge battle scene. Just act like you're being shot and let's see what it looks like. And you go, okay, and you'll try something. And yeah, that's where, people like Paul, Peter, they come in and go, that looked great, that didn't. What if we find a middle ground? So there's definitely play. There's definitely as much play as you can get in a TV show before the cameras start rolling again. So yeah.
And what have been your interactions with the human cast, the, Shooty or the companions or the other kind of extras and supporting players? What have your interactions with them been like?
It usually starts with them just kind of coming and staring at whatever you're wearing, which you have to kind of invite. You have to be like, yeah, come and take a good look, because I would do the exact same. Um, which in something like the robots is quite funny because, or actually, all three of the creatures is quite funny because it's not 100% clear like where the person is inside it. So people would always talk to the robots' faces, but they were actually quite low on our chest. Our faces are much higher. So yeah, people come over and they kind of ask all the usual questions like, how on earth do you do that? And how do you breathe and how do you move? Um, and then yeah, it was fun. It was such a like, you can tell from all the Doctor Who behind the scenes footage, it's such a lovely community there. And you're on set with these people for 10 hours a day for, weeks at a time. So you all get to know each other. We were a little more restricted because when we were between shots, we sometimes couldn't come out of the suits fully. So we kind of literally were like hung up on the wall basically, and people could come and talk to us. But yeah, it was a lovely bunch of people, to crew and cast, to chat to and interact with and bounce ideas off.
And when we did have those opportunities to rest for slightly longer, maybe when there was a change in camera shot or whatever, the front plate of the robots could actually come off. So unlike the Roth, when Rob and I were in the Roth, we were in them. That there was no taking off the headpiece to show our actual faces until we'd wrap for that day. Whereas with the robots, very kindly we could take the front section off. So quite often you found that when you did that, suddenly people came over to meet the people inside the robots, which is actually really lovely. And as Rob mentioned, there's so many moments behind the scenes where you actually see our actual faces, people talking to us, interacting. It felt very involved, despite being in this huge, massive suit. There were opportunities to actually connect and talk to people. And yeah, I mean, all the cast were fantastic, not only in terms of uh, how they interacted with the robots as on set, but also us as people. Several times, the cast members are saying, "Can we get you anything? Can we help? Do you need to sit down?" And obviously, they don't have to do that. There's people to do that for them. But in the entire shoot, everyone was very caring, which was brilliant and really lovely.
I think Shooty picked me up in the bogeyman when I slipped in my own slime, and I think Varda helped pick me up as a robot when I maybe took a little tumble on some of the tapes. So they were very helpful in many ways.
I actually hadn't seen into the actual episode when the scene where we're Farida and we're taking Belinda to our planet. I hadn't realized on set how much Rob and I are actually knocking
Same.
her
It looks
around.
it's so funny, isn't it? She's
I
looking like what?
I actually now feel really bad about that. And there was a moment where Barada steps up onto the platform, and I think I'm already on it. Rob's stepping up into it, but we give her a proper whack. And I didn't realize that on set that we were doing that. And she was still incredibly lovely afterwards and asking if we were okay, even though in that moment we were almost like battering her around a little bit. Um, yeah.
There's this clip in the Unleashed episode. I don't know if you guys have gotten to see that yet. One of you is trying the suit on, and you take quite a tumble in this. I mean, it looked rough. Like, what
Yeah.
is that just part of the process of trying it on and kind of working out the kinks of such a big kind of piece that you're wearing?
Yeah, so that's absolutely it. And actually, before that, we'd all had an opportunity to try the suits on previous at Millennium as well. But I think that was the first time we'd had Peter Director, the camera team around, a couple of the producers. So that was a test suit day just to show them what we could do. Unfortunately, at that point, the design of the feet was slightly different to the final design that had been landed on, and a section of the foot wasn't as it wasn't stable. It wasn't connected as one piece. The final design, the whole foot was just one piece. In that video, unfortunately, the foot was almost two pieces. And yes, it is myself. As I was taking a step, the piece that wasn't attached kind of went underneath the foot, and then as I went to go put weight on it, obviously I just went straight through. However, the suits were amazing in the terms of protecting us. It was like I actually didn't feel a thing in that moment. I was actually more concerned that I'd broken the suit rather than myself. But, I was cocooned in this incredibly safe suit, so I actually felt totally fine. And actually, again, it's at this point we really need to give credit to Millennium because immediately, I mean, you see in the video that you mentioned, everyone was flooding in to help me, which was absolutely amazing. And as soon as we discussed why that happened, the design of that foot was immediately changed on all four suits. That problem was eradicated, and then we're able to move forward. But that's why we have those test days. That's important to iron all that out. And but yes, it was always going to happen at some point. And it was fine. I just can't believe they put it in the Unleashed episode. I saw it and was like, oh, come on. You've done me dirty there. I can't believe that.
And with the suits, like, I mean, they're massive. What's how do you get into them? How do you what's the process like of strapping yourself in for the day and just trying to live throughout the day, maneuvering this giant hulking thing?
It was clearly pretty physically demanding. It's very cleverly designed, again, the engineering of it and how it was put on. We had kind of under layers of like foam shorts, which looked like the kind of inner tubing. And then they were kind of in a torso piece and then a waist piece, and then the legs and thing and arms all clipped on. Once you were in, you were kind of in for the day, except at lunch, so we could come out in the middle of the day. And of course, if we really needed to, we could come out, or you could kind of take bits and bobs off. Um, Again, they're just designed so cleverly that they were extremely heavy. I think Stephen knows how much did they weigh?
So each of the suits weighed between 30 and 35 kg.
So they're not light. But having said that, they are much lighter than they actually look, obviously, because they're all designed, they're all 3D printed and kind of fiberglass. So they look like, full titanium, and they're obviously much lighter. It was yeah, I think if it was a solo job, it would have been much more difficult because it was quite demanding on our bodies. But there were four of us, and we all kind of were there for each other, and it was good camaraderie. And also just kind of logistically as well. Sometimes they would just need one robot at a time, and it meant we could all kind of tag in and tag out. So if someone had done a lot that day, one of the other four could go in and do one of the shots, and it meant everyone got to go and got to do some fun stuff. And there's a great shot I spotted of Lucas. I didn't see, but he's like the robot that's had its top half blown off in the battle. So he's wearing a green morph suit from the waist up, and in the final episode, he's just the pair of legs that are staggering around, but to film it, it's him in a green morph suit and then just the legs, and he's like staggering around like this. It's brilliant. So yeah, we all kind of kept each other going, I think.
And they, again, Millennium and the production team had created chairs for us for the actual suits. So we were able to like heighten kind of bicycle seats. But then the chairs had like these two armrests. So we were able to like with our arms up, like sit back onto those chairs to take the weight off our shoulders. So little, little tricks like that, which actually make the world of difference to us as performers. Because like Rob said, we do get to a point where, we may have had a really busy day and actually having that, even just a 10-minute sit down respite, it means you're able to go for like the next 5, 6 shots or whatever. So yeah, again, another example of how just really well thought and looked after we were.
And with all the talk of the difficulties of creature performance, what's the fun bit? What is the thing that keeps you coming back to prosthetic work and creature performing?
I mean, I think I can obviously only speak from the Doctor Who world. Rob will have a much more kind of detailed answer because his body of work stretches across multiple things. But I think for me, for Doctor Who, um, particularly for this last one with the robots, I mean, this is as closest to being Iron Man I think I'll ever get to be in my life. And that is a one fantastic thing. As soon as I put the suit on, I was like, oh my God, I feel like Robert Downey Jr. I'm Iron Man. This is great. And there was that feeling of like fun invincibility of just being like, yeah, look at me go. This is really cool. I think as a creature performer, you have to have the fun in it. You have to be able to appreciate what it looks like on the outside, and it's a real genuine style of performance and acting because we know with like a rise in the world of like AI and CGI and that sort of stuff, having actual physical creatures on set makes such a difference, not just for us as performers in terms of us getting a fantastic gig, but the people we're playing off. Take like the bogeyman that Rob played against in Space Babies. If that creature wasn't there chasing the Doctor and Millie, it's Millie, that would have been a very different shoot for them. And again with the robots, having these four big hulking things actually in the space, it just changes the entire feeling of the episode. And I think it's a really vital part. And as a creature performer, it's fantastic to be able to contribute to the story in that way. And do something really very different. Like it's a very physical performance, a genuine performance. Like it's just great fun. I think you've got to have that fun to keep coming back. Because I think the moment it stops becoming fun for you, all those aspects of creature performance that makes it difficult at times would just be heightened. And then actually you're not going to give your best. And I think a show like Doctor Who deserves your absolute very best. So yeah, that's for me.
Very good answer. I can't add much. All of that is 100% correct. I kind of love the challenge of it. I love the physical challenge of it, which I'm not really sure where that comes from. I've done so much of it. I think I'm so used to like a job, any acting job being like pushing you to the like extreme limits of your endurance ability, which I think I don't know, is quite rewarding. But I also, when I watch performances in other actors, I love people who completely transform. Like someone like Gary Oldman is one of my favorites because he's just every role he plays he's barely recognizable. And so I always wanted to be that kind of actor. And so in a way, creature performing is like that to the extreme because physically I can just, you couldn't look more different. But then it's finding a way to performance wise match that and make it real and make it believable. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like ultimate dressing up. It's like that we all love to do as kids, like imaginary worlds and playing things. We can actually do that, and the makeups are just so extensive and so breathtakingly detailed and beautiful that so many of the roles I played, what you see was there on set. So and you get to just look like that for a day. Is what it's always worth the discomfort because
Hmm.
it's temporary. Um, yeah, so it's very cool.
And over the course of the episodes you've both been in, what have been like both the highlights and then the lowlights of it? What's been the thing, the moments you'll take with you, good or bad?
I mean, I'm 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 a real night owl, so night shoots for me are great. It's my like dream hours to work. When you do day shoots and you have a really early pickup and your alarm goes off at like 3 a.m., there's always a moment where I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
No.
But then you get there and you have a coffee and you're with everyone and it's fine. So if that's the low lights of a job, I'm like, everyone feels like that when their alarm goes off for everything. Um, yeah, highlights are just there's nothing kind of that feeling when you do watch it back. If you like, sometimes it's like over a year later, and you're just suddenly like, God, that's me, and we did that. There's nothing to kind of put that feeling into words. But on the actual days of filming, it's kind of what we've already said. It's about the people and something you're making together. I love how collaborative acting is. I think a lot of art performers go into the world because it's so you're creating stories with other people, and Creature World is super collaborative in that sense.
Absolutely everything Rob Sarah said about the highlights, like that was everything I was going to say, to be honest. I think if I was to add to it, I think I'd say that moment where maybe on set you're able to quickly sneak and have a look at the monitors and you can ask for like video playback just to see the shot you've just done. And particularly if it's maybe internally felt like a really like physically taxing shot, but then you watch it back and you're like, I see the vision. This is great. That's a really lovely moment. Low lights, again, similar to Rob, what Rob said. I think it's I don't so much mind the early, I'm not quite a night owl as Rob is, so I don't necessarily mind the early starts. But I think it's maybe those moments where you feel like you're not sure how much left you have to give. Maybe it's been like a long couple of weeks shoot, or you've done like a couple of heavy days, and you have that moment where you're maybe on your own and you're a bit like, "Oh, where is this day going to come from?" However, exactly like Rob said, particularly when you have a scene partner or partners that you're working with, you get to set, you meet all the crew again. They give you that energy, they give you that life, and that moment very quickly goes. So it's yeah, low points are quite few and far between, and even if they do arise, they tend to be gone again very very quickly.
And kind of along that note, if you guys could choose any creature in the history of cinema that you could get a chance to, put your spin on, who would you pick?
I always had an answer to this previously, which but it's slightly been done now, so I fear my opportunity window is closed. I always wanted to play Nosferatu in some kind of
Hmm.
remake, but that
Cool.
was just done, and it was done beautifully. So no regrets. But that was always mine. It's like one of the first films, to be honest, but one of the first features ever. So it's kind of iconic. Um, yeah. When you think of
I
something
would
else,
think, I think for me, um, maybe like a Predator from the Predator franchise.
Ooh, that's a good answer.
That'd be very cool. But maybe like early days Predator, where it was a bit more practical effects. But that would be, yeah, I think that would be an amazing thing to give a go at. And actually,
I
now
see.
we've done digilegs on the Broth, because at the time that felt like I was like, how are we going to do this? This is mad. But we've done that now, so now digilegs are in the locker. I think like a werewolf style creature would also be very very cool. So yeah, I'll say one of those, predator or werewolf, I would say.
So call you up for the next Wolfman remake.
I mean, yeah. If you're giving me the part, I'll take it.
Well, I think that's probably about going to wrap it up then. I really
Amazing. Thank
appreciate you
you.
guys talking to us today.
No, well, thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us as well.
Yeah, of course. Before we go, where can our viewers find you online, and what projects do you guys kind of have on the horizon that you can talk about?
I'm only on Instagram. So I can be found on Instagram, which is just my name and then official after it. So that's me. I'm actually currently in rehearsals for a puppet show, so a large scale outdoor roaming puppet, which would be really cool. And that's a show over here in the UK, which is centering around like play and discovery and passing on of nurture and resilience from humans. It's a really interesting piece, and the puppet is beautiful. It's worn, it's on a backpack, and it's a full suit puppet, and then there's more puppeteers on the outside controlling the limbs, and it's just beautifully made. And I think it's going to be a really lovely piece. So that's my next project.
I am. Well, it depends when this is out, but by the time this is out, I've got another episode of a certain fantasy series out this week, which I can't really mention until then. But it's only in 2 days' time, so it might be out by the time this is out. So you'll see it on my Instagram, I suppose. And then I am also in the new Silent Hill film, Return to Silent Hill, which is out sometime soon. Which again, I'm not really supposed to say much more about that, but some fun horror and fantasy. It's nice because I suppose this is quite sci-fi, covering all the genres. And I am also on Instagram. I'm strange.robert on Instagram, so you can find me there.
Thank you guys again so much for talking to us and have a wonderful, wonderful day and congratulations on the episode. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much, Michael.